to everyone. Dumelang sanbonani eThekwini. Igama lami Hleze Kunju, and welcome to this session. Decolonizing minds. Decolonizing minds. All right, we have amazing people here that I'm going to introduce just now. We are live on Facebook, live on YouTube. I see the notifications coming in. We are live everywhere except for Mixit. All right. Yes, Tshepiso. Good day. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Great. How are
Can
you
you hear
doing?
me?
We
I'm
can
very
hear
well,
you.
thank you.
All right.
Oh, you
Great. I think
can
we
hear
can hear
me.
you. Yes, we couldn't hear. I
Oh,
couldn't earlier on. All right. Okay.
oh,
Well,
because I have load shedding on my side.
that's fine. Let me introduce you to this session on decolonizing minds. All right, which is sort of based on Professor Ngugi's very well-known book on decolonizing the mind. And we are going to talk more on the language side of things. All right, language is the language used as a tool to undermine. We are starting already. Eh? Is the language used as a tool to undermine our cultures? And I think yesterday we did talk about language and culture and the relation between the two. All right, is it used as a tool to undermine our cultures? Maybe through the promotion of English to an extent that we all believe that our languages are inferior. Actually, we cannot write in our languages because the writings that we do in our languages will not go anywhere. All right, because writing is associated with education. And in our country, education, you can only achieve it through English. If you don't have good English, it's almost guaranteed that you won't receive education. So, which makes then our languages to be more undermined. This is all the results of colonization. Do our minds still need to be decolonized from that? Do we need to sort of detach that element of our languages are inferior because of this? Anyways, we've got these amazing people who work in African languages, who use African languages in different ways. They are going to tell us how they are decolonizing in their own spaces using our languages, decolonizing our minds. All right. So we're going to start with, I'll introduce Tshepiso Makgoloane. She's an award-winning author, a powerhouse in law and literature. She's an acclaimed Sepedi poet and legal professional, author of Sama Africa and Kicheshu. Sorry, someone that I'm hearing, am I the only one who's hearing? Okay, okay, okay. Oh, now that's gone. All right. Okay, there was a bit of movement, some scratching paper or something on the audio, but it's fine now. So sorry about that, Tshepiso. Tshepiso, she's written a multi-award-winning book called Sama Africa and Kicheshu. Maybe she will read us the poem Ki Swalalana. Maybe she will talk about that. And maybe she will tell us about TMP. I have no idea what TMP means. Maybe she will tell us about what TMP is about. Did we just lose Chidi? Okay, maybe she'll be back just now. Great panel and very needed conversation. Thank you very much. All right. Did I sketch a picture as well? Okay, let us move on and I will introduce to you Qhali. Good day, Qhali. She's a bilingual writer, she's an editor, sustainable development practitioner, and social justice activist. She's the 2022 Atlantic Fellow for Racial Equity based at the Nelson Mandela Foundation and Columbia University. She's a founder of Los Ilahleko, which led to South Africa's first multilingual book series. She wrote the Rhodes University's first bilingual master's thesis and obtained it with a distinction. She is going to be talking to us today about decolonizing the mind. Okay, I think we have everyone now. And then the next panelist that we have is Tsosheletso Chidi. Tsosheletso. She is the curator of the Time of the Writer Festival, this amazing festival. She is a curator. She's a PhD candidate in African languages at the University of Pretoria. She's the author and founder of Dirubele, Wandering Butterflies Movement. And maybe she's going to tell us about her PhD as well, how she's decolonizing our minds through her PhD work and her master's work, because I think she also wrote a bilingual thesis at Rhodes University with Sepedi and English, if I'm not mistaken. She'll tell me. Sis Lindokuhle Mnguni, born in Mpumalanga, an amazing, prolific writer, poet, and a sterling performer. She has received awards, participated in competitions, and collaborated in notable projects in the arts. And maybe she will also share one or so short paragraph, few paragraphs from her work and tell us how she is decolonizing our minds through her work. Okay, is that everyone? All right. Tshepiso. Okay. All right. Okay. We've lost Tshepiso. Lindokuhle, how are you?
I'm okay, but Hleze, how are you?
I'm great. I'm great as well. All right. Maybe, yeah, just tell us briefly how you are, your understanding of decolonizing minds and your approach in responding to decolonizing minds. All right. And go for it. So also to everyone, I want you to just feel free to share. All right, I'll stop you when we run out of time. Don't worry about that. I'm the timekeeper, but I want you to just share. And I don't want anyone going here and saying, I prepared this and he didn't ask me about that. No, this is open. I want you to tell us. So if you go here without having said what you wanted to say, it's not my fault. All right, go for it.
Okay, decolonizing the mind, to me, what it means is starting with the root of it all, the language.
Okay. Mm.
So writing with Isindebele, to me, writing with my mother tongue is not just preserving the language, but it helps me to get to the core with my writing because I write with understanding and I get in depth because I know the language. I am the language. And there are some other words that are not there in English. Like when I'm thinking, I think in Isindebele, and then whenever I need to speak English, I translate in my mind. So whenever I need to translate some of the words, you find that they are not there in English. It's either direct translation will change the meaning, or you find words that are relating to what you're trying to say. But then the problem with that is that it changes the whole idea. It's no longer original. So whenever sometimes I get to places and they be like, we don't understand your language, but we 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 got the feeling of the poem, or we got the feeling of the performance. Just like when we jam to the music that we don't understand, but we jam with the feeling and the instruments. So decolonizing the mind with me starts with the language. Speaking my own language and writing with my own language. Yes.
All right, thank you so much. All right, so you're saying there's musicality in poetry, so you don't necessarily need to understand. You can just feel the beat of the poem, and the poem goes straight to your heart. All right, thank you so
Yes.
much. And I like how you say you are the language, you are Isindebele, and maybe you can explain a little bit more in the next round about that. Please prepare something very little for us that you can share and
Okay.
talk about. All
Okay.
right.
No problem.
Yes, thank you so much. Tsosheletso Chidi, you disappeared, so I'm worried. So I'd like you to talk now, so that if you
Okay.
happen to disappear again, yeah, go for
I
it.
apologize. I'm really
Don't worry.
struggling with
Yeah.
reception. It's really unstable. And I didn't hear anything since you all began. So if you can just repeat what you
Okay.
have in
All right.
briefly.
So that's fine. So sorry about that. We are still sort of at a introductory stages.
Yeah, yeah.
We just want to hear your understanding of decolonizing the mind and your response in trying to do that. And I will repeat this again. And I said I don't want anyone going here and not having said what they wanted to say or what they prepared to say. So that's why I'm putting it like that, so that you can tell us your understanding of this and your response or your approach in responding to decolonizing our minds. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to be a bit extensive, not long. Uh, and it's because I did a preparation and I was discouraged when w- we spoke about what is trending on social media about. I mean, most people draw inspiration of decolonizing the mind from Ngugi wa Thiong'o, and I am an activist. I'm a gender-based activist, a very active one, and I had to scrap out the preparation that I did because, oh gosh, am I still audible? Something just happened with
Yes,
my
yes.
network.
We
Okay,
can hear you today, and we want to hear what you've prepared.
so I'm struggling to quote or to refer to Ngugi wa Thiong'o at the moment, which was the
Okay.
first part of my preparation. So
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
know
I
if
get you.
I'll be what, but I
Okay.
would just like
I
to,
get you.
for this session, I would like to play around with existing Sepedi idioms.
I'm
And I
happy with
hope
that.
that one day I'll be able to write in collaboration with other Sepedi writers new contemporary idioms that represent the times we live in. So growing up as a child, there's an idiom that my mother used to say to me in rebuking me for talking too much, and she would say, Molomo utela nuka utlechi. So it is a very difficult because of how English and Sepedi don't coexist. It's difficult to translate the idiom, and it's even difficult to give a loose translation. But in today's discussion, I want to replace Molomo with Polelo, meaning that I would say Polelo itelanuka itlechi, which now conveys the idea that language possesses the strength to overcome any obstacle, even crossing rivers. It's a testament to liberating and decolonizing power of language, revealing its ability to transcend any boundaries. Now that I'm older, I understand why my mother used to say that to me. And I understand why my mother used to rebuke me for speaking too much, because she did not want to get me in trouble, as I always found myself in trouble as a young person for speaking too much. And now, as an adult writer, I still find myself in trouble for my mouth because we exist in patriarchal spaces, which is why I struggle to work with Sepedi male editors, male publishers. I think I'm hardly published in the Limpopo region or Mpumalanga region, where Sepedi is largely spoken as a language. But there is one publication company which was able to understand me as a female Sepedi writer, some sort of radical writer, if I may call myself, which was Mutimele Publications. And for some reason, they were able to see my contest against language, because language has so many bad things against women, and we really like to, which is why I'm saying I want to write my own idioms. And I've been challenging these idioms, but I was not, for some reason I didn't know that I was like, there's another idiom in Sepedi that says "Libitla la mosadi ke boradi," and it means hore. What does it mean, Tshepiso? Can you help me in English if we were to give a Sepedi translation of an English translation of "Libitla la mosadi ke boradi"? Are you able to assist me in translating that idiom? But if she can, I'll give my context against it. What is it that troubles me with the idiom?
Okay. Tshepiso, how's the English coming there?
The English is not coming all right.
Confusing. All right. If there's someone online who wants to help us, they can. And I see Usis Kholi has already helped with the other one. She said the other one is in Zulu. It says umlomo wela umfula ugcwele, which means the mouth can cross an overflowing river. Okay, Tshepiso.
Okay, I've never translated such idiom or a proverb. I'm 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 not really certain as to how precisely it can be translated, honestly. But then in the meanwhile, I'll fight for it and see if I can just get a proper
Okay.
translation for it. Yes.
But what I wanted to say, Dr. Hleze, was when I was finding a new meaning or a new rewriting for that idiom, I said, "Libitla la mosadi ke moshumo." And then I'm trying to say, I removed boradi. So this means hore, okay, a woman when she's married, kumele abekezele emshadweni emendeni. But I'm saying no. Perhaps we can say a woman must bekezela emsebenzini. You know, like, can we just play around with the roles and what is expected? I mean, women now, we are liberated to work. So how about we revise these idioms? It's not like the only thing that we are doing as women is to go and get married.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm moving towards that point to say we need to rewrite the Sepedi idioms. Me in decolonizing and liberating the languages, can we have idioms that represent the contemporary times in which we live and exist in? Ngizoyibamba kanjalo, malume.
Thank you, Qhali. Thank you. And Zodwa online, she says the woman's grave is at the family she is married into. Okay, so on Facebook, she says, I love how Tso is approaching this topic.
Yes.
Right? And Dr. Dlamini, she's saying she's really, really enjoying this conversation already. So thank you so much to our audiences online. All right, moving on to Qhali.
Thank you so much.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah. Hello to everyone that's joining us today. Ngiyabulisa molweni, dumelang. Bitso la ka ke Qhadi. Ke Mosotho, ke Mxhosa. Papa wa ke uMsotho, mme uMxhosa. You can hear the instability in all of that. You can hear I'm not a fluent Sesotho speaker, but I'm raising this because it's a part of who I am. My two worlds, my two cultures, they're very much a part of who I am and how I move in this world. But when I think about this topic about decolonizing minds, for me, it definitely, yes, does go to languages. I do think the first thing, my instinct is to think about indigenous languages, and in particular, my indigenous languages are the Xhosa and Sesotho. And I'll just talk briefly about my journey. And it's a pity that I'm going to speak in English, but anyway, we're here. So I grew up in a Model C school where we were speaking English, obviously, and if we would speak as a Xhosa in that school, we would get penalized, we'd get shouted at, we'd be sent to the principal's office, whatever, but it was very, a very undemocratic behavior of our teachers, if I can put it like that. And we allowed it to to happen for such a long time as a country, not knowing the danger that it was doing to us as individuals. And for me, the danger that it was doing is that my language is not allowed in the education space. My language is not going to be allowed in the workplace, meaning my language is inferior. And if you think your language is inferior, possibly you as a Black person are inferior post-apartheid. And you don't realize this. You don't know that this is what's happening in the background, but this is what's happening subconsciously. You grow up believing that you are inferior, and you are surrounded by white children or minority white children in the school, because at that point there were many Black children. However, the majority language that's spoken is their language. And then later on, when I went to work, and I was working in the training and development sector, I'll be working with Abantwana in rural communities, and they would have to come up and present their projects, whatever that particular thing that we were trained on. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
And when it first dawned on me, that this was not just my problem, but it was, a larger problem in the country, is here we are trying to upskill young unemployed people and asking them to present their projects in English, and they ended up not wanting to present. They did not want to present what they had worked so hard on because we were asking them to present in English. And one day I said, present your project in isiXhosa, because I was working in the Eastern. And the difference that made in those presentations, the confidence that ensued when someone was presenting in their languages, that's when I realized the impact that speaking English, had on me, and the impact that it had on other children as well. And then I went on to start trying to learn more of isiXhosa myself, as much as I had done it in high school. But I started reading some Xhosa poems, etc., because I loved poetry. And I started trying to write in isiXhosa, unaware that I was reclaiming something within myself. But I was doing this. And eventually I wrote a collection of poems, and I submitted to Rhodes, and I got accepted into the Rhodes Master's Program for Creative Writing. And Dr. Kunju right here actually encouraged me that I explore doing a bilingual thesis. And as much as I wanted to, I felt I wasn't good enough. I felt I wasn't good enough to write in isiXhosa. I didn't think I would be a good isiXhosa writer. And again, what I wasn't aware of at the time was that this was part of the colonization. My mind believed that I was not good enough in white spaces. My mind also believed that I was not good enough in my own indigenous culture. And it took me such a long time to eventually, work up the courage to do this bilingual thesis. So yes, so that's a little bit of my story, which is, in summary, as much as I wanted to learn isiXhosa, when I eventually tried to write in it, I now believe that I was not good enough. I did not belong in my own language. And it goes to the topic, decolonization. And what is colonization? And if we're talking decolonizing, we're talking the undoing of the settling of a belief system that was inculcated within us, that English is superior, therefore your languages are inferior. And there's a lot of work that we have to do if we're talking decolonizing, because we're not talking today, we're talking hundreds of years back. Yeah, let me stop there. I have so much more to say about the people that are here today and how I've worked with them on this journey of decolonizing the mind.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Qhali. All right. Thank you. I'm coming back to you. Tshepiso?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Nice, loud and clear. Thank you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. As long as you can hear me, because I've been struggling to hear everyone there. I really missed a lot. So
Yes.
yeah. Okay. Decolonizing minds. Firstly, I would like to articulate on the decolonizing mind phrase before I can go deep into the content of it, or what I myself as a writer of Sepedi books am doing to promote or preserve my mother tongue, or to ensure that I bring it to the light and then show the world that I'm a Pedi girl, and then I'm not ashamed of my roots and my culture. Decolonizing minds, according to me, as a freeing or emancipating of people's minds from the colonization of our African languages. I mean, these days we have this thing of this thought that we as youth, or the people of this era, the people of this era, are only supposed to write in Western languages, because that has been that's how decolonized our mindsets are. We are used to doing things in other foreign languages or Western languages, and then we end up debasing, or we end up undermining our very own religions. We end up undermining our very own roots, where we come from. I believe that the languages, the African languages or the indigenous languages, which were previously disadvantaged or prohibited to be used, determine where we come from. They determine our roots. They determine our origin. They determine the people we are, the rules that raised us, the people that raised us. I mean, in its entirety, who we are. I am Tshepiso because I come from the Pedis. I'm a Pedi. I was raised in terms of the Bapedi costumes and culture. So now I come and stand in front of everyone and speak in this fluent English with this big terms, and then think that I have made it. Whereas if you can just come to me and ask me what lebitla la mosadi ke bogadi means, I don't know. But when you come and ask me something in English, I articulate on it, or I explain in detail what it means, because I am a Pedi, but I am wearing this Western languages skin, clothing, and tone. But that is not me. That will never define me. Doesn't matter how fluent I speak English. It doesn't matter how I flourish or how I excel with that English. That is not me. What about our roots? What about where we're coming from? What about that describes or explains where we come from or who we are? I have this proverb that says, charity begins at home. In Sepedi is translated as chipa itaga mohlabeng wa gabo yona goba wa gayo. That I think is relevant for this topic we are having today, in a sense that it says charity begins at home, chipa itaga.
Okay. It sounds
As
like
a
yes.
people of this modern world we are doing, we don't start with that charity at home. We don't start by embracing our roots. I don't have a problem with people who speak English fluently, or those foreign languages or the Western languages. My problem comes or becomes where one becomes fluent or well acquainted with other people's languages, but the person doesn't know or has forgotten the roots, her roots, his roots.
Okay. I've We've lost you, Tshepiso. We've lost you a bit. I think you did say there was load shedding earlier on, but I think I got your point, and I like the questions that you're posing. What about our roots, which I want to follow up on? We're gonna go have a quick another round, and then we're gonna open it up to the audience, our audience online. But there's a cake. Please forgive my pronunciation. Pele. She says, "Ke rata gape kore this panel is all women. This is also part of decolonization. Ka Setswana, mosadi, thari ya setšhaba." It can both be negative and positive, but in this case, I'm using it in a very, very, very positive manner. Thank you so much. And Usisoli Madlala says, this reminds me of the Idols contestant a few years back when a hawker was asked, are you Venda? And he responded that, no, I am Shangan. And it became a joke. And he was also laughed by the black people. Why is that a joke? And if you are all black, it's all part of elevating the English. And we're going to laugh because it doesn't understand the English, not realizing that we're actually laughing at ourselves. All right. And last one says, nice to meet you, Qhali. I'm also bilingual by birth. My father came Xhosa, my mother came Soto, but I was raised by my maternal relatives. All right. Okay, we have Qhali and Chidi. All right. Lindokuhle. I am Ndebele. I am the language. You did say that. I am the language. I want to let's have a conversation, a quick one, just the two of us for now. So you write in Sindebele only. Do you write in English at all?
Do I write in English? I used to write in English. And I was
Okay.
like, okay, English is not my strong point. Let me focus on
Okay.
isiNdebele. And then I started writing in
Okay.
isiNdebele. But ever
Yes.
since I started writing in Ndebele, I never really wrote in English. Although
Yeah.
I'm promoting and preserving the language, but I still feel that I need to learn English as well. So I
Yeah.
also want to
Yeah.
go back and learn how to write in English. But my strong
Why?
point is
If I may
Ndebele.
ask, why? Why? If I may ask, we have 2 more minutes. Why?
I want to be multilingual. I also want to learn how to write in other languages like Pedi
Yeah.
and others as well.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And
But
not just
I'm
isiNdebele.
okay, but you mentioned English. I want to know English. And I understand we are a multicultural country, multilingual country, so we have to learn other languages. But why English? I want to come back there because you mentioned it first.
Yes, I mentioned it first because you asked about it first.
Okay, okay. All right, no, that's fine. Now, Lilo. Yesterday, a conversation transpired here a bit, but it didn't have room to. Someone said something about us writers being poor, you know, because we are writing in African languages because our African languages are not being books in African languages are not do not sell. All right, I did kind of open that up when I made an example about what Dr. Magona always say that she has written. She says, I have evidence. I have written in both languages, isiXhosa and English, and I'm happy to show you the paperwork to show you what has sold and what hasn't been sold. And I'll tell you, African languages do not sell. What's your take on that? Do you want to respond on that?
My take on that, I can't really say I'm disagreeing or agreeing with the
Okay.
book, the topic, I mean. But speaking from experience, our book sold. I've been having people that are Tonga buying the isiNdebele book. I've been having paid
Okay.
people buying the book. Others were saying, I want to know the language. And I'm like, the best way to
Yes.
learn the language is to buy the book. And then they buy the
Yes.
book.
Yes. All
So
right.
I cannot agree or disagree. That's their
Okay.
experience. But my experience, the
You
book
are
did sell.
evident. You have evidence for it. Thank you very much for that. Are you ready to share something with us?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Konke kwasungula ngehlanganyela yodwa. Oyedwa wathi nakangibonisako ngabona kwanga uyangihlakaniphela phela wayengasinda ngami. intangami ngabona kwanga iyangibonakalela ngombana nangidlako bekusala ngasala ngiyivala ngokobana yiphoso. Umaphosa wayiphosa kodwa ngakusasa hlangana namehlo ngabona inkwekwezi kwangikhanyela ukobana ayizukuphelela lapha. Ibanga elide lisungulwa ligadango elilodwa. Yathoma ngehlanakela. Bakwethu nangibalekela kibo bangihlanakela, ugogo wathi emendweni kuyabekezelwa mntwanami. Jemdele ube yimbokodo uqine, uthule konke kusomnini. Ngesibuyeni awubuyi wedwa, impoto zakho awuzisukeli izodwa zizakusala zitsha, ibambe itjhisa. Qina mntwanami, qina, uqinele abantu bakho. Nami ngabuyela kwami, ngiwubambe ngebukhalini, ngiqinele abantu bami. Lathi ilanga naliyoziphosa kunina, abantu bami balala bangasenayo unina. Iye khona akhange ngaba libuya kodwana emendweni I left in a coffin.
I'm not frozen. I'm here. I'm here. Thank you very much, Linda. And gosh.
Which goes back to the idioms Tsosheletso was talking about, hore
Yes.
libitla la mosadi ke bogadi.
Yes. Okay. And I think Zoda did throw in something there, but it's gone now because I've already read it. But saying that the girl's grave is at the family where she's married, is at the family where she's married into. Thank you very much. Okay, still have a lot to ask, but I want to move on to Qhali and Chidi. And maybe we can have this together, well, all of us. And Lindo, please feel free to jump in. And online, please send questions already. We're opening this because I will read your questions. Technical team, if there are questions that are there, please let them come. Do me, Qhali, and forgive me, Qhali and God, you guys must forgive me. All right. So I worked with these people for many years, and I call them with different names, and now they've got different names that now I must get used to. But Qhali and Tsosheletso, I want you to tell us about what happened after you finished your bilingual and dual language thesis masters at Rhodes. What happened? What did that do? And I want you to tell us about the work that you've done after that. All right. And I don't know, Qhali, would you agree if I call you a radical writer? Would you agree with that? I can't see your eyelashes, but I think they moved a bit. Were you agreeing or not? I just want a yes or no at this stage.
I mean, I don't know what you mean by radical.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
But yes, but.
For example, yesterday, in one of the sessions that we had, I wrote. I mean, I didn't perform. I don't like performing. I read a piece that's bilingual. That listed the vagina names that we were given as children. And I did not give a disclaimer to the room. I did not tell the men in the room that I'm about to call out a list of 20 vagina words because I don't owe them that disclaimer, one. But I saw a shift in the room, just as much as there's a shift in me when I wrote those, that list of these vagina names. So perhaps I'm radical in that I do want to address things that we're supposed to not be addressing. I do want to talk about things that we are supposed to not be talking about.
Okay, you agree with that. Thank you very much. Okay, yeah, all right. Now, the reason why I'm asking that, I didn't come up with that. It was Chidi who said, I am radical. And I wanted her to explain what she means by that and take us through that. Chidi, are you with us? This is the last question. You said you're radical, and I want you to tell us about that. Like, what do you mean by that? And obviously, we are still decolonizing our minds.
Oh, Batum. Okay.
Our minds aren't used
Yeah.
to hearing 20
Yeah.
different names of vaginas in African languages in an international
Okay. And
platform like this. Okay, go for it. Are you there, Tsosheletso? Okay, you can speak.
yes, Malume, I am radical, and I own that I'm
Okay.
a radical writer. And
Yes.
yes, can you guys hear me?
Yes. Hamunati Juang.
Okay, ngiyazwakala?
Hamunati Juang.
Oh no.
Okay, she
Hello?
cannot hear us, but we can hear her.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Ngiyazwakala, ngingaqhubeka.
Hamunati Juang. Quebec.
Okay. So yes, Malume, I own the fact that I'm a radical writer. And for me, in my okay, so in my writing, or in so okay, so for me, even when I speak of okay, guys, can I go ahead and speak? Can you guys just give me like signs? I'm okay.
You're okay. I'm doing all the signs I can. Go on. Go on.
Mm,
Okay. She cannot see us. She cannot hear
okay.
us.
I'm not sure if I
Let's.
should continue talking because I'm not sure if I'm audible.
You are audible. We can hear you. Continue. Okay, she can't see us. She can. Qhali, are you ready with the
Malume.
20
So
names
I was
of?
saying that for me, if I
Okay. Technical team, can you please
ngiyaqhubeka.
help? Okay.
Bengisasho ukuthi mina in my writing came up with a term called heteropatriarchal editing, where I
Yes.
feel that Sepedi speaking men and editors, they want to heteropatriarch editing of female writers, because
Yeah.
I find myself working in spaces with men who want to tell me what to say. They want me to be the writer, but they want me to say what they want me to say. So, and I found myself not being published in Sepedi uh, for a very long time, because when I wanted to say something like, I remember when we did Los Ilahleko Qhali, if you remember, and I wanted to say vagina in my language, and I was working along with a male editor, and a male proofreader was saying, "No, you can't say this. You can." I wanna, and even now I'm even afraid to say it, because he kept whispering, "Let's, so you
Say
can't
it.
say this." And
Say it.
yesterday
Say
we
it.
had a
Say
conversation.
it.
Who Dr. Mahala was saying, there are writers who are millionaires through Department of Education. Do we even have a Department of Education in South Africa to begin with? Because that is there's so much gatekeeping in that Department of Education, and
Yeah.
pigeonholing, where they're telling writers what to do.
Yeah.
I'm a radical
Yeah.
writer. I'm a damn crazy. You are not going to tell me, okay, don't say this because of our curriculum. That's why kids are getting raped, because
Yeah.
we are not calling things by their names.
Okay.
And
Okay.
re botsa bana hore ntho ke kuku. That's why a
Okay.
child is taught to know hore this is something to be hidden, this is something you cannot talk about.
Yeah.
Even when
Yeah.
an uncle in a family rapes the child, the child cannot say, because the
Okay.
department of their so-called Department of Education
Okay.
doesn't allow space for that conversation in their education. So
Okay.
Malume, mina, if we're going to be talking about Department of Education, I'm
Okay.
not even going to come out as time of the writer curator. I'll come out as a protester.
Don't worry, Mtana.
So speaking for
Sorry,
the
Mtana.
purposes of
Okay.
decolonizing the mind, but I'm just saying we need to decolonize a
All
lot
right.
of things in this country.
Okay, your sound is so beautiful. I just want you to, in like 2 sentences or short, to tell us what happened after after your dual language thesis masters. What did you do in decolonizing our minds? What type of work have you been doing? Just short, yeah. And then maybe if you're able to put just a few paragraphs of your creative work, a poem or something. Okay, we've lost her again. Are you still with us, Chidi? Okay, let's move on to Qhali. Okay,
I
there's a
went
delay. All right. Okay, you went?
to
Yes.
continue studying.
Okay, there is a delay.
Okay, I think let's just do a poem because
Okay, let's just give you a break, Mchana. If you can hear me,
I
let's just
think
give you.
I went ahead to be a writer. I did a book, Dirurubele, Wandering Eyes, and okay.
Okay. Oh, sure. All right. Sorry. Do me, Qhali? Can you tell us just briefly what happened after your masters, in line of decolonizing the minds in terms of the work that you've produced after that, and maybe share a poem. If you share the same one, we don't mind, but we probably would like it again because it was so good. But it's up to you. The mic is yours.
Thank you, Msakazi. I will speak briefly about what happened after the masters. But I mean, I would have really liked that we were all together for this conversation because it's such an important conversation. And it's unfortunate that the connectivity is disturbing us. So I do want to apologize for anyone who made time to come out and listen, and sorry about the connectivity issues. One of the things I would have liked us to talk about today, and I'll mention it briefly, is I believe that this topic of decolonizing minds also begins at home. As a parent, I have 2 kids, and I constantly forget that I should speak to them in the language that I want them to grow up speaking. And yet, we complain that the publishing sector is, it's so bad, it's so elitist, people aren't buying our books. But are we teaching our children their languages at home? And this is something that didn't happen for me, when I was growing up. And it's something that it's a second thought for me as well. When I'm at home with abantwana bam, I find myself saying, Kairos, please bring me water, as opposed to Tanam ngicela ungiphathele amanzi. And there's such a difference in Tanam ngicela ungiphathele amanzi to Kairos, please bring me water, that we can't even discuss in this limited amount of time right now. Because there's a culture, there's a level of respect, there are values in our languages that are different to another language. You have, children in English being able to say certain things to their parents that they would never say in their indigenous languages. So on decolonizing minds, I think there's a lot of not blaming, but there's a lot of finger pointing that we can do, but I do think that it also starts at home. Okay. What happened after I finished my master's? So my master's was titled Loss Ilahleko, and I was exploring different kinds of losses, including the loss of my mother tongue, or perhaps I should have called theft. I should have called it theft, ukumbiwa, because it is not. It's not a loss. Our languages were purposefully alienated from us. So I was exploring the loss of my indigenous languages. And in the midst of my thesis, I then also, COVID happened. And I felt so alienated from the rest of South Africa. There was such a separation. There was so much anxiety. And I wanted to connect with people outside my house. But I also wanted to continue this conversation with other people outside my house on the topic of the loss of our languages. There was also a hike in GBV rates at the time, and I myself as a survivor of abuse, of rape, I was also exploring, the losses that one experiences if they have been violated. So I wanted to put together a group of women that, we could be there for each other and discuss together our different losses against the backdrop of GBV, but also in relation to the losses of our, the losses that we experience in different ways with regards to our mother tongues and our indigenous languages. So I made a call during my master's towards the end of my master's to South Africa, to indigenous writing, female writers, to explore this topic, loss ilahleko. And I did not tell them what to write about. I did not say, please write about gender-based violence. I didn't say anything. I just wanted us to explore this. But obviously I gave them a background or an abstract to the topic. And what came out was something like I never expected. I ended up having 12 women from across South Africa in all the indigenous languages, in all the 11 official languages. And they submitted poems in their indigenous languages that all dealt with different forms of gender-based violence. And we put together an anthology. They also looked into this topic of loss of our languages. So that's one part of this anthology that I was putting together and the conversations that we were having. But we also formed friendships. We started talking all the time. We built friendships from 2020 to this point because we all had this common interest in exploring this topic of, the losses of our languages. And I do have a copy of the book right now. It's here, Loss Ilahleko. And it was produced by 12 women from all across South Africa. Lindokuhle is here, Tsu is here. So that was one that was one aspect of what happened during my thesis. But then it expanded, and the same ladies who had contributed to this anthology this anthology also looks at gender-based violence and the different forms of gender-based violence, which they wrote about. They then translated this book into all the official languages. So now you have the whole book in Afrikaans, you have the entire book in Sepedi, you have the entire book in Zulu, etc. And last year we had a launch at Exclusive Books where they were launching their books that they have written. I mean, I didn't write this, they wrote this, and then they translated it. And we all came together for the first time since 2020, and they launched their books. And yeah, that's been the journey.
And where did the title come from, Ilahleko Loss?
Pardon?
Where did the title Ilahleko Loss come from?
Well, one, loss obviously is the translation of Ilahleko. And at the time I was exploring loss because of the loss that I had experienced in my life. But I am a bilingual writer. I think it's Federman who says whether or not I speak English or French well is neither here nor there. The point is I'm a double-headed mambla. It is who I am. I can't deny the fact that I write in both languages. I'm comfortable with both languages. And as I said yesterday, I'm also negotiating with the sector. I'm negotiating with people who buy books to say, yes, I am writing in my mother tongue, but I can also offer you something in English.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you very much. I mean, I think one of the things that colonization wanted to do was to use language to divide, which is what all the states were about. Your Transkei, your Ciskei, your Putetswan. There was always division. If you speak this, you look like this, you must be adverse, you must be there, and so on, so that there's no unity. And I think what this work is doing now, you are sort of deconstructing that as well in a literary form, that okay, let us all come together in one book in unity. So I think that's another way of decolonizing our minds, to say, hey, we can work together, we can do this, which takes us to what Utumelo is asking. And she's asking, and he is asking, Tumelo, he's a very amazing writer as well. And he says, Lindokuhle. Okay, I've lost that question now because I'd opened it. But he wanted to know, how did you manage to market your book? Um, I really don't have it, but he was asking, how did you manage your book? How did you manage to market your book, especially to people who do not speak isiNdebele? If you did market to them, because he wrote his children's book and no one wants to buy it, and some say, when are you going to translate it into my language and all that? Do you have a response to that, Linda Gushle?
Yes, honestly, it's not only my book, it's mine and Lindokuhle Mahlangu. So we're
Okay,
using social media platforms to
to
sell the
market.
book.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
And honestly, we did have other people who were actually coming up with the same thing, with it, but I don't understand your language. So how
Yes,
am I
yes.
going to read this book?
Mm,
And then I had others who were buying for their Ndebele friends, and others were buying because they wanted to learn the language.
all
And
right.
then also
Okay.
we told them, Uguti, yes, we are selling the book now, but we are also working on an album. So
Yes.
an album is
Yes.
better. You're gonna be listening rather than reading. So if you
Okay.
buy the book now, then later you
Yeah.
listen. When you have both, you'll understand better. And I
All right.
think that also did help.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Linda. I hope you're covered there, Tumelo. Okay. People, there are some comments on Facebook, but for some reason, I can only see three at a time. I think they keep shifting and I cannot see all of them. So please do go there and read. And I see another contribution from Zodwa. Kona kona, we are not reading. We are not a reading nation. This is me agreeing with it, Dr. Magwan. I like to attribute this to economics. Buying books is a luxury for most. In our attempt to decolonize the mind by writing in our languages, how do we then create an economy where buying books doesn't mean sacrificing a loaf of bread? Okay? Illiteracy and poverty, I believe, go hand in hand. Right? If you cannot read, then you're probably poor. I think that's what Zodwa is saying. I'd like us to also really reflect on that, what Zodwa is saying there. But Chidi is here now. Can we please hear your poem quickly, Chidi, while you're still with us? Inimshan,
Of
sorry,
course.
Eskom is doing this to
Uh,
us. Okay, sorry.
ke lang kgekgenene.
I promise you, I didn't plan to do this, but it just came now, and the voices came and said, Chidi needs to read.
Lebadi pelong ya ka ke lang kgekgenene, ntshe fase magala gapeng a moya wa ka se kgopi se lekana le lephotho la lewatle, go ba ba bokathola ya ka pelo e dutla madi a tsogotla a sa emiše moya wa ka o kgopišegile, pelo ya ka e kgopi gobatšegile. Guys, I'm panicking because we're getting a signal that we are ending now. So just
Okay.
come to I think people should just join us on the 21st of on Thursday for the World Poetry Day, and yeah, we'll
All
be
right.
doing that. I'll
We'll
finish
be
that
doing
poem
that.
there.
Okay,
Yeah.
finish that poem there. All right. Okay, so we end exactly at okay. All right. Thank you so much. But I mean that I heard what Ulindo Gushe was saying earlier on, that um, there's a lot of music in the poem. You don't need to hear every word. There's musicality in there. You can feel it. It will do something to your soul, and I could hear that in your poem. And sincere apologies to Tshepiso Makgoloane. Tshepiso Publishing is her publishing company that I wanted her to tell us about. I really wanted us to tell us about Swalala. I wanted her to read that, but we couldn't have her. So I really sincere apologies to her. And at this point, we have 1 minute. So I think we should close it. But thank you so much to our panelists, and your work is amazing. And I think you should keep going. And I really think we should really explore and think about this notion, this thing that we cannot sell in our African languages. I want us to really think. And if we can't, what can we do to challenge that? And I think a lot of you are already doing amazing things to challenge that and respond to that. And thank you so much. I feel very privileged to be amongst you ladies doing such amazing things. And I really, really, really appreciate you, and I really appreciate your work. Amaqhubukaza ngalala endleleni yazi kunyembelekile watsho SEK Mkhaya, and we see that in the work that you do. With those words, thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who has joined us online. And apologies again that I couldn't read all the comments. Along with all other factors mentioned, let's talk about access to books, all right? Things that we need to talk about, all right? Hleze, great moderation, amazing panel to the ladies. The ladies are amazing, all right? With those words, ladies and gentlemen, online and everywhere, thank you so much for joining us. Let's keep the conversation going, decolonizing our minds. And it's not, sometimes it's just a piece of your mind that needs to be decolonized. And so let's do that. Thank you so much.